Creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision, Asian news through Asian eyes.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to AVN News. I'm your host Malak Ahmad Fayaz, here to bring you the global news that matters. In the next half hour, we'll cover everything from world politics to cultural insights. Stay tuned. Speaking ahead of a General Assembly vote on a draft resolution on the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice, ICJ, on the legal consequences of Israel's policies and practices in the occupied Palestinian territory, OPT, Palestinian Ambassador Riyad Mansour says the court had fulfilled its mandate, while Israeli Ambassador Danny Danon said that the resolution perfectly represents the priorities of the Palestinian Authority.
In his address to the 10th emergency session of the General Assembly, Mansour said that if they need to identify two cardinal rules, two pillars upon which the international law-based order was built, there would be the right of people to self-determination and the prohibition of the acquisition of territory by force. He stated that these are the rules that Israel has been breaching openly and brazenly for decades without any consequences.
If we need to identify two cardinal rules, two pillars on which the international law-based order was built, there would be the right of peoples to self-determination and the prohibition of the acquisition of territory by force. And these are the rules that Israel has been breaching openly and brazenly for decades without consequences. The court fulfilled its mandate by unequivocally identifying the legal consequences for Israel.
Danon said he had expected a resolution of the General Assembly that would declare a unanimous, unequivocal condemnation of terror, the rape, the torture, the kidnappings that took place on the darkest of days. Yet he said that there has been no condemnation, no resolutions. Danon said that the draft resolution slanders Israel, ignores its right to defend its people, and seeks to isolate it, adding that the Palestinian Authority, PA, has teamed up with the radicals in the region, posing a grave threat, not just to do it well, but to the entire Middle East. For her part, United States Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield expressed her opposition to the draft resolution. She said that the adoption of a one-sided resolution that selectively interprets the substance of the ICJ opinion does not advance what they all want to see, and that is progress towards two states living in peace side by side. This proposed resolution advances the flawed and indeed false idea that adopting a text here in New York can somehow resolve what is easily one of the most complex and persistent diplomatic challenges of the time.
The 25th annual meeting of leaders of Malaysia and Brunei at Istana Nurul Iman last August 26 succeeded in improving the cooperation between the two countries. 3 memorandums of understanding were successfully signed between Malaysia and Brunei.
Land demarcation agreement, aviation cooperation, coordination involving Brunei, Sabah and Sarawak, and exchange of notes involving maritime access. That is bilateral document signed by the two countries during the visit of the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, to Brunei. The Prime Minister said in an effort to continue the good relationship between Malaysia and Brunei, the government cannot deny the role of previous leaders in maintaining the relationship.
Ada dua aspek. Satu, kita bertekad untuk tingkatkan dalam hubungan itu dalam semua bidang yang mungkin. Dan kedua, kita ada juga pendekatan yang agak berganjak daripada pendekatan dulu, di mana kita minta hubungan langsung dalam beberapa aspek walaupun tertakluk kepada keputusan Mahkamah Persekutuan, tapi hubungan langsung dengan antara negeri Brunei dan negeri Sabah dan Sarawak.
The Prime Minister also had an audience with the Sultan of Brunei, Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah, and held a 4-eyed meeting at Istana Nurul Iman. Elaborating on the cooperation, Anwar said Malaysia and Brunei agreed to enhance collaboration, including in tourism, investment, technology, and military sectors.
Saya akan juga hubungi kerajaan negeri Sarawak dan Sabah supaya kerjasama dari segi ini dan juga mencakup beberapa bidang lain itu juga dapat ditingkatkan. Di antara yang dipersetujui ialah pelancongan, kerjasama dalam bidang pelancongan, terutama untuk Brunei, Sabah dan Sarawak. Ini satu pendekatan yang hanya mungkin berlaku bila dua negara ini bersahabat, akrab.
Malaysia Prime Minister's 2-day visit to Brunei holds immense significance in the effort to further strengthen the bilateral ties between the two countries. It was Anwar's third visit to the country since being appointed Prime Minister. The visit is also special because it is in conjunction with the 40th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Malaysia and Brunei. Anwar also noted that the personal bond between the leaders of Malaysia and Brunei is crucial and should be leveraged to enhance ties between the two nations. Brunei was Malaysia's 30th largest trading partner and the 6th largest among ASEAN member countries, with a total trade value of 9.31 billion ringgit or $2.04 billion. From January to May this year, Malaysia recorded a total trade value of 3.53 billion ringgit with Brunei. Di Aisyah Melissa Yohanis, Bandar Seri Begawan, RTM.
The World Health Organization (WHO) announced on Friday the approval of the MVA-BN vaccine developed by Bavarian Nordic AS as the first ever Mpox vaccine to be added to its pre-qualification list.
This pre-qualification approval is expected to greatly improve access to the vaccine in regions facing urgent outbreaks, especially in Africa, aiding efforts to reduce transmission and control the spread of the disease. WHO Director General said that this first pre-qualification of a vaccine against Mpox is an important step in the fight against the disease, both in the context of the current outbreaks in Africa and in the future. He stressed the need to scale up vaccine procurement and distribution to ensure equitable access for the most at risk. The vaccine is administered in 2 doses, 4 weeks apart for adults aged over 18. The pre-qualification decision will accelerate procurement by international agencies and speed up national regulatory approvals, according to the WHO Assistant Director General. Current data indicates that the vaccine is 76% effective after a single dose and 82% effective after 2 doses. WHO emphasized the need for continued data collection on the vaccine's safety and effectiveness. The total number of Mpox cases in Africa has climbed to 26,543, including 5,732 confirmed cases and 724 deaths in 2024. In mid-August, the Africa CDC declared the ongoing Mpox outbreak in Africa as a public health emergency of continental security. Soon after that, WHO also declared Mpox a public health emergency of international concern, activating its highest level of global alert for Mpox for the second time in 2 years. With the rapid spread of the virus, countries in other continents including Pakistan, Singapore and Thailand in Asia have tightened screening of international travelers and implemented precautions against it.
Palestine has taken its place among member states at the United Nations General Assembly for the first time, a symbolic move from the rear of the chamber as the observer state.
The Palestinian delegation was seated alphabetically alongside full UN members at the 79th GA session in New York. Riyad Mansour, the permanent observer of Palestine to the UN, took his place on Tuesday afternoon at a table marked State of Palestine. On May 10th this year, The Palestinian delegation was granted additional rights, including being seated with member states, the right to introduce proposals and agenda items, and participate in committees, but not the right to vote. The move was confirmed during the session's opening when Egypt's UN ambassador Osama Abdul Khalik asked for verification of Palestine's new seating arrangement. After the meeting, Mansour was greeted by a long queue of delegates from other member states offering their congratulations. In September 2011, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas applied to then Secretary General Ban Ki-moon for an upgrade of Palestine's status in the UN General Assembly from observer to full member state. In 2012, Palestine's observer status was changed from non-member observer entity to non-member observer state. Palestine has been a permanent observer state at the UNGA since then, enjoying the status that allows it to participate in all of the organization's proceedings, except for voting on draft resolutions and decisions in its main organs and bodies from the Security Council to the General Assembly and its 6 main committees. The General Assembly will vote on a draft resolution on the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice on Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory. This draft resolution demands that Israel immediately end its illegal presence in the occupied Palestinian territory 12 months after the adoption of the resolution.
India's PM Narendra Modi is in Gujarat on Monday, where he inaugurated the 4th Global RE-Invest Meet 2024.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi also visited the exhibition organized at the sidelines of the Global Reinvest 2024. Gujarat's Chief Minister and Union Minister for New and Renewable Energy also accompanied the Prime Minister. The 2-day event showcased the renewable energy sector prowess of India and sought to attract investment in the sector. The exhibition showcased contributions from public and private sectors, state governments and startups. Networking opportunities will be abundant, facilitated by a dedicated B2B digital platform for business-to-business, business-to-government and government-to-government G2G interactions. Multiple companies including Tata Power, Suzlon Energy, Waaree amongst others showcased their offerings and achievements in green and renewable energy sector.
Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus today sought support from the United States to rebuild Bangladesh, carry out vital reforms and bring back stolen assets.
The chief advisor sought the assistance when a high-powered U.S. delegation met him at the state guest house, Jamuna in Dhaka. He described the challenges that the interim government is facing and said the administration has moved quickly to reset, reform and restart the economy, initiate reforms in financial sectors and fix institutions such as the judiciary and police. The 2006 Nobel Peace Prize winner gave an outline of the reform initiatives undertaken by the interim government and said 6 commissions have been set up barely weeks after his government took over in an effort to prevent vote rigging from reform judiciary, police, civil administration and the country's anti-graft agency and to amend the constitution. Professor Yunus said his government was committed to getting back the stolen assets siphoned off by the corrupt individuals linked with the previous autocratic regime. The U.S. delegation, led by Brent Neerman, the Assistant Secretary of U.S. Treasury Department, praised Professor Yunus' leadership and said Washington, D.C. would be happy to support his reform agenda. U.S. officials said they were eager to offer technical and financial assistance for reforms being carried out by the interim government. During the hour-long talks, financial and economic reforms, investment, labor issues, the Rohingya crisis and the chief advisor's upcoming visit to New York to join the UN General Assembly were discussed.
The Cabinet approved an emergency budget of 3.05 billion baht from the Central Fund today to help flood victims whose houses or property were damaged by recent flooding.
An advisor to the Prime Minister, Paetongtarn Shinawatra, told the media that the Prime Minister has instructed officials at the Interior Ministry in charge of screening and providing financial help to flood victims to cut all the bureaucratic red tape and to ensure that the assistance reaches the victims as quickly as possible. Instead of requiring pictures of the damaged houses or property or documents as a proof for their claim for compensation, the advisor said an official can just inspect the damaged houses and make an assessment, adding that for a house which sustains 70% damage, the owner will receive at least 230,000 baht in compensation. It was disclosed that during a special meeting on Monday between the Prime Minister and relevant agencies to review the recent flood situation, some remedial measures to help flood victims were discussed. Those included a 30% cut in electricity charges for September and October for houses and other establishments in flooded areas, and compensation for damage if houses are flooded for more than 3 consecutive days. The advisor said that the Cabinet has also approved an ADHOC committee which has been tasked with coordinating relief efforts in case of flooding and devastating mudslides, and an operation center to deal with them.
Chinese retail sales and industrial production growth slowed in August. Official data shows as leaders in Beijing seek paths to achieve growth targets despite consumers' reluctance to spend.
More than a year and a half since abolishing strict COVID-19 measures that had dampened activity, the world's second-largest economy has yet to achieve a highly anticipated post-pandemic recovery. A prolonged debt crisis in China's vast property sector, continued deflationary pressure, and high unemployment are among the factors now weighing on investor confidence. In August, retail sales increased 2.1% year-on-year, slowing from 2.7% in July, according to data released by the National Bureau of Statistics. The figure also came up short of the 2.5% growth forecasted by a Bloomberg survey of analysts. Year-on-year industrial production also slowed, dropping from 5.1% growth in July to 4.5% in August. The Bloomberg forecast had anticipated industrial production to grow 4.7% last month. The new figures are a worrying sign that efforts this year to spur the Chinese economy have not had a major impact, as Beijing looks for ways to achieve its goal of 5% growth in 2024. The National Bureau of Statistics said in a statement that adverse effects of current exchanges in the external environment are increasing, domestic demand is still insufficient, and the economy is still facing many difficulties and challenges in its continued recovery. Unemployment edged upwards to 5.3% in August compared to 5.2% in July. Saturday's data releases comes one day after Beijing announced a long-anticipated rise in the national retirement age as birth rates declined and hundreds of millions of people approach old age. China's total population fell in 2023 for the second consecutive year, with experts warning of severe impacts on the economy, healthcare and social welfare systems if action is not taken.
Indian police detains 104 striking workers protesting low wages at a Samsung electronics plant in southern India as they were planning a march on Monday without permission.
The detention marks an escalation of a strike by workers at a Samsung home appliance plant near Chennai city in the state of Tamil Nadu. Workers want higher wages and have boycotted work for 7 days, disrupting production that contributes roughly a third of Samsung's annual India revenue of $12 billion. Senior police officer of Kanchipuram district, K. Shamugam, says that on Monday the workers planned to start a protest march but were detained as there was no permission given as there are schools, colleges and hospitals in that area. The labor strike that has disrupted production at a Samsung plant has put the spotlight on a politically backed worker group which quietly mobilized employees of the South Korean company and now plans to extend its efforts in the country's electronics sector. On September 13th, hundreds of protesting workers wearing blue-colored Samsung shirts continued to sit inside makeshift tents near the home appliances plant in southern state of Tamil Nadu, sporting red caps with the acronym CITU. The Centre of Indian Trade Union CITU is backed by India's most influential hard-left political party and has 6.6 million worker members. It demands worker-friendly measures, though it has historically focused more on auto sectors and companies like Hyundai. The Samsung strike is one of the biggest industrial unrests to have caused production disruptions at a foreign multinational company. Samsung is not keen to recognize any union backed by any outside labor group. Samsung did not respond to a request for comment, but on Friday said it has initiated discussions with its workers at the Chennai plant to resolve all issues at the earliest.
Briefing journalists, a UN expert on economic development said $1.37 billion people remain on the wrong side of the digital divide.
UN experts highlighted the uneven process in digital transformation globally, urging accelerated efforts to bridge the digital divide, especially in developing regions. Navid Hanif, UN Assistant Secretary General for Economic Development, stressed that while digital government advancements have accelerated post-pandemic, disparities remain across the regions.
The development of digital government has seen a significant upward trend. That's good news, and it's worldwide, with all regions leveraging technology to enhance government services and improve people's engagement. This shift has accelerated during the post-pandemic recovery period, a silver lining from the pandemic. But all regions have achieved progress in various areas. The pace of development has been uneven, and regional disparities in digital development persist. Still, 1.37 billion people remain on the wrong side of the digital divide, have no access.
Vincenzo Aguero, chief of the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs Digital Government Branch, presented data on the world's top digital performers. He highlighted that 18 countries are currently classified in the highest digital government rating class, with Denmark leading globally. Aguero said that this rating class includes 18 countries, 10 from Europe, 6 from Asia, 2 from Oceania, making a net increase of 3 countries from the previous editions. Adding that Denmark remains the top global performer, followed by Estonia and Singapore, he noted that the new entrants to the list include Germany, Norway and Spain, alongside advances in Asia by Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. The briefing also shed light on the regulatory process in emerging technologies, particularly artificial intelligence (AI). Aguero pointed out that 90 countries have some form of AI legislation, though gaps remain. Emphasizing the need for broader global cooperation in AI governance, he said that while this progress is encouraging, it is important to note that the number of countries with AI legislation still falls significantly short of those with well-established digital government strategies.
The Indian Women Dubai Awards 2024 was held in Dubai on Saturday.
The event celebrated empowerment, resilience and unity, showcasing the impact of women who are shaping the community. More than 30 awards were presented, recognizing women for their achievements in areas of technology, entrepreneurship, healthcare and arts. The evening was also packed with moments including fashion shows, showcasing Indian elegance with modern style. The award ceremony showcased the power of women supporting one another. The event concluded with a call for continued advocacy of women's empowerment and community building.
And with that, we conclude this edition of AVN News. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the stories and insights we shared. From all of us here in PSM News, we bid you a good night.
Great creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision, Asian news through Asian eyes.